Hi, this is Zach here with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Thursday, the 6th of July. Not a pretty picture there for the FTSE, but the triple failure to start the month at the 200-day moving average. We had another RSI failure below the 50 level, the neutral 50 level, so we've been below that basically continuously since the beginning of May, which is quite an achievement. And below the previously suggested target 73.80 on that March support line projection, there's the risk now of a retest of March support and even down to the November support line projection as low as 70.75. So not looking pretty. The only plus point, I suppose, if there is a plus point at the moment, is that the RSI is now back at 30. And in the recent past, bounces, RSI at 30 or below has actually been a buy opportunity. We saw that back in October, and we saw that quite a big way back in March after a few hiccups there. So something to watch out for if we can hold near the 73.80 area or close back above it by the end of the day. On to the DAX, where there was the hint of a triple top before, and the last time we looked at this. So the market looks as though it wants to try and roll over, but 15,600, the late May supports, at least while we're above that, there is the chance of just a sideways consolidation rather than a breakdown. But you can see those triple peaks there through 16,000 not looking great. The 50 and 200-day lines are still rising, so that does provide a positive a positive spin to the situation. But the RSI now well below neutral 50, so below 15,600 risks the old March resistance around 15,300, but hopefully not much worse than that is expected at this stage. On to the Dow, which has been interrupted by all these by the Independence Day holidays, but we're back with it now. And here, what we're hoping for is that we'll stay above 34,000, which was the broken April 2022 resistance line. Given the way that the other markets are, it's probably good to factor in a potential test of the 50-day line there, 33,600, and even the possibility later on in the summer of a test of the 200-day line once again. And that in this case, it's at the moment it's around 32,900. But the best prediction at the moment is that we'll head back down to the 50-day line and hopefully bounce from there. The star of the show at the moment is Bitcoin, which is an unusual thing to say, I suppose, but we're back above 31,000. We've got this, what looks like a mid-move consolidation ahead of a breakout towards 35,000 or even more. That is a one-year resistance line projection at the top of the channel that we've had on the daily chart since then. Rising 50 and 200-day lines, and so not expecting any weakness back below the 50-day line, currently at 27,800 as a worst case situation, but obviously slightly wary that 30,000 or just over is the top for this market. Moving on to the stocks, and Altona is the first contender here. Looks like there's been a bit of a bear trap rebound rather than from below the June support there, 5.1 pence. Above that, looking for the shares to retrace the decline of June, so maybe head back towards 6 3/4 over the course of the rest of the month. Obviously some news from the company backing the rebound, and obviously also not looking for any fresh lows below 5 pence. On to Byotrol, which updated the market today. Here you can see that the shares looking encouraging after that. We like that sort of sideways move, sideways shuffle I call it, above the rising 50-day line and a gap higher today, so that does suggest we're in a rising trend channel base from back in September, and then we could hit 2 3/4 pence, perhaps even as soon as the end of this month, but obviously don't want to see the stock back below the 50-day moving average at 1.8 pence. Cornerstone starting to look more healthy again, and here we bounced off a rising 50-day line earlier in the week, and looks like we're going to hit our initial target here around 12 pence, hopefully over the next week or two. Big picture target maybe by the end of next month up to 16 pence in a September resistance line projection. The other positive on the chart is the way that we've got this extended RSI uptrend line there, which is supporting the price action and obviously has helped the big move higher today. Another stock on the move is Distil, and here just breaking out of that falling wedge from the beginning of the year around the 50-day line, around 0.49. Above that, looking for the 200-day line initially at 0.62. Big picture target here up to 1.3 pence, maybe on a 2 to 3 month view, but let's just go for the 200-day line at 0.63 as an initial target for the rest of this month. But we don't want to see any lasting price action back below the 0.49 or upper 40s at least over the near term. Good update from Golden Metal today, and the shares, as pointed out before, they're sort of toying with breaking to new higher ground. We had one attempt at the end of last month. Looks like it could be second time lucky, especially given the way that the 50-day line is now rising. Looking for 11 or 12 pence, hopefully, by the end of this month, especially while we stay above the 200-day line there, around 8.5 pence on a mid-close basis. RSI sort of bounced off the 50 area as well, so that is also looking encouraging for Golden Metal, even though obviously we don't have much charting data. The rally started really at 7.5 pence with the break of that resistance line there from back in May. Moving along to Graft Polymer, which has had 2 RNSs in successive days, quite exciting stuff. Just the first signs that there's a bit of interest here at the lowest levels. I probably want to see the shares break back above 4p to then open up the possibility of 6 or 7. But as I said, just the first signs after being oversold for many months, but down at the almost single-figure RSI levels, and slightly higher RSI level now suggests some bullish divergence there, so that might be something that is responding to the news. More straightforward situation comes in the form of Horizonte, which again updated the market. We've got this rising 50 and 200-day lines here. The RSI broke above the neutral 50 level and the 50-day line last month at 140, and above 140 we've been looking for the top of that rising trend channel from this time last year, as high as 185 pence as soon as the end of next month. Ideally we stay above that June peak around £1.50 in the meantime, and don't have to retrace back to that 50-day moving average area. Star of the show today has been IX Net Zero with its rather strange name. Here we've got the shares actually, well, first we had the initial target there around 16 pence. That was hit back in April. Next target was 28, which I think we've just hit 28.5 today, so that's good news. End of day close above 28.5, and we're looking at a fresh target as high as 43 pence, which is the July 2022 resistance line projection. And the upside valid here really while we're above the low 20s, so 21, 22 pence. That was resistance on the way down. Moving along to stock which I haven't covered for quite a while, but i3 Energy, interesting situation at the moment. Obviously the shares have broken down, and they've retested basically the initial 2022 support just around the 12 pence mark, and the fact that they've done that successfully so far is mildly encouraging, let's say. So the lows there around 12.5 pence, and we're just above that now. So looking for the shares to break the recent resistance around 13.75 and then head back to maybe the 16, 17 pence zone by the end of next month, which was the support area on the way down back in the spring. RSI well below 13. It hasn't been that oversold for many years, so this looks like it could have a little bit of a technical rally over the near term. On to Petro, where there are no such concerns. Here the shares are gapped up after breaking that line of resistance that we were looking at, I think, just a few days ago. Above the 50-day line, in fact, actually above the resistance on the way down around 5.25. We're looking for the shares to hit 8 pence as soon as the end of this month, and hopefully even more than that. Might have to upgrade that target. We've had an island reversal, so we gapped down and then gapped up this month after gapping down in May. On to Premier African, where we were looking rather tentatively for a move back up to the 200-day moving average at 0.62. In fact, the shares, I think, peaked around 0.64, which is very kind of them. What's interesting now is that we're still above that gap higher that we had at the top of that gap there at 0.48. So if you are a fan of the shares, you'd be hoping that the shares remain above the top of that gap and then maybe retest the 200-day average around 0.63 at the moment over the next few days. Don't really want to see an end of the day close back below the floor of the gap there at 0.46 if you're following the stock closely. Stock which seems to be full of life at the moment is RC RC365, and here we're looking for the shares to, or the fact they've broken out of the rising trend channel drawn before. We're looking for £1.80, and probably the situation can be upgraded to around the £2.20 level, while we're above the floor of the latest gap there, around the 127 pence level. But clearly that's not one for widows and orphans. Another stock on the move at the moment in a rather dull market is Thruvision, and here we've had the big breakout through that triangle, which was in place since last summer. That was broken at 26 pence and above 26 pence. We have been looking and are looking for as high as 40 pence by the end of this month. So a nice vertical move there on that. A similar state of affairs with Univision. Here we've got a situation where we were looking for a break of 25 pence to basically give us a break of 0.25 to give us 0.4. We've nearly achieved that. We'll see if we can do that, and then maybe after that we need to upgrade the target, but at least while we're above the 0.25 level, looking for 0.4 on Univision. On to the last stock of the day, which is Xtract, which I think I covered earlier in the week, said it looked like it might be ready for a bit of a turnaround. The bear trap there from below 1.3 pence March support. Above that, we were looking for the 50-day line initially, around 1.6 pence. And above the 50-day line, maybe we could stretch to 2.1 pence. And the 200-day moving average, don't think we've been above the 200-day line for quite some time. So since the early part of 2022. So 2.1 pence. Let's see if we can get that while we're above the 50-day line on Xtract Resources. That's it from me today. More updates over the weekend.